Yo, I'm Drew Gilchrist, and today I want to talk about something a bit serious. I want to talk about the Cancard. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of Cancard, but to keep you guys up to speed, if you haven't heard about Cancard, it's essentially a medical card scheme in the UK. And so essentially the way this medical card scheme works is, in the UK, you can get a prescription for medical bud. But to be able to get that, you need to actually have some sort of eligibility criteria for it. So to be able to be eligible for a medical prescription here in the UK, you need to have had 2 previous prescriptions for your issue from your GP in the past. Like, could be stress, could be sleep, could be pain, could be whatever. And if you've had 2 previous prescriptions, like, whatever the GP wants to give you for that thing, then that could then make you eligible for, a CBPM, and you could get a medical prescription. Now, I feel like it's common knowledge that you can get a medical prescription now. Like, it's 2023, everyone knows you can get a medical prescription, super widely available, super easy to get one, it's really not hard. However, when prescriptions first were a thing, it was not that easy. It was not like this. Back even before the end of 2020, it was expensive to get a prescription, and it was almost unheard of. You didn't really know anyone with prescriptions. You knew they kind of exist. They were really expensive through these private medical companies, and nobody really knew the ins and outs of how to be able to get one, and most people could not afford one if they did know how to get one. Thus why Cancard was born. It was a medical card scheme where you could show, look, hey, I'm eligible for a prescription. I have all of the backing for a prescription. I just don't have one. So instead, I have the Cancard that shows, hey, look, this is my defense, and obviously if you want to take this further, that's up to you, Mr. Police Officer, right? Like, that is literally what the Cancard was originally made for, which when it first came out, I was even an advocate of. I even put up videos saying, like, look at how good this is. This is going to be amazing. It's going to be able to show to the police that this is, like, an easier thing. And the police were even onto it and saying, yep, that's absolutely okay. We're going to follow this guidelines, or at least some police forces were like, yeah, we're going to follow this guidelines and, use discretion and not arrest people who have a Cancard. So it seemed really, really good at the beginning. But it's very quickly taken a massive turn for the worst. And right now, Cancard is actually worse for patients than it ever has been, and is actually really, really bad for all prescription holders right now. So let me explain. I've had this multiple times. I'm sure many prescription holders have had this multiple times, and it's getting annoying. Where I will be out and about, and I will be stopped by the police, and they will search my stuff, even though legally they're not really allowed to search my stuff once I tell them that, like, hey, I've got a cannabis prescription, like, you don't have any probable cause to search me. But regardless, sometimes, you let them search, or they do their thing, or they force the search upon you, or whatever, right? And you go through everything and you tell them, hey, look, I have a medical prescription. And you know what they turn around and they say to you? They turn around and say, oh, sweet, so do you have your Cancard? No, I don't have a Cancard. I have a prescription. The point of a Cancard is to show that you don't have a prescription and that you're just eligible. And it's no more than a defense, right? It doesn't mean anything more than that. And if anything, me having a prescription, it means more than that. Like, legally, I'm actually okay with a prescription. Like, I don't need a Cancard. Like, I'm supposed to show you the prescription and you're supposed to go, sweet. Right, your ID's this, your prescription's this, sweet, great, mate, have a good one. I'm not supposed to be asked for my Cancard. A Cancard is specifically for people who don't have that. And this is becoming an increasing thing where legal medical patients who have prescriptions will get arrested because they didn't present a Cancard. Because the police forces in the UK have had no updated guidelines on the fact that prescriptions exist. Like, currently, police forces that go through the training for psychoactive compounds, they're not even taught that medical prescriptions exist. So some of these police forces have been taught to, use discretion on Cancard from all this time back ago, but haven't actually been taught what Cancard is, what it's for, and the fact that a prescription literally means much, much more than a Cancard ever could. Like, with a prescription, you actually have a legal backing. You are actually fully legal to be doing what you're doing. With a Cancard, you're basically showing the police officer, hey, I could be doing this legally, but I can't afford it. Which doesn't make any sense anymore, right? This is where it's like borderline, where, misinformation and people not knowing, like, how you can actually get a prescription. I have to be very careful with the way that I word everything because I don't want to, say anything too bad. But think about this for a second. A Cancard costs £30 for a year. and legally gives you absolutely no backing at all, and is supposed to be for people who can't afford a medical prescription. But there are certain clinics that you can sign up with for less than £30. So it's literally not cheaper anymore. So in my head, it kind of doesn't make any sense. Now, I'm also being told that allegedly, like Cancard, they don't actually have a doctor that checks your medical backing, right? So, like, essentially all you're doing is paying money to get a card which says, hey, I have this. Like, I've heard through the grapevine, not necessarily confirmed, I'm not going to say anything for certain, that I've heard of people who have said they've gone to Cancard with absolutely no medical backing whatsoever and have then still got a Cancard. And obviously one of the biggest concerns I've just spoken about here is the fact that the police are not briefed properly. The police barely know what prescriptions are in the first place. They've been told that, well, some policers have been told that the Cancard is the one that they need to look for. And there is no police briefing on the fact that cannabis medicines exist in the UK. How is that not a thing? How does every police force not have this guidance? How have I just seen on Twitter this morning that somebody just got their house broken into by police and raided and their door knocked down because they have a prescription and they had all of their stuff laid out on the table, yet the police assaulted them and told them that prescriptions don't exist in the UK? How is that a thing that's happening right now? That makes no sense. So people, please message your MPs, write them an email, and maybe even send them this video and say, look, what is going on? The police forces need to know that cannabis prescriptions have existed for the last 5 years. I get that they've only been available and affordable to all for like the last 2 years, but there's now 30,000 patients in the UK. Granted, there's 90,000 Cancard holders, but that's still 30,000 people in the UK who are legally able to be in the possession of their medicine, and they're still being absolutely discriminated against. And also on top of that, being arrested specifically for not having a card that is supposed to prove that they can't afford the thing that they have. That makes no sense. So I don't know how we're going to get this sorted. I don't know what we're going to do, but I wanted to put this up here and say that I personally do not support Cancard anymore, and that's my thoughts on the matter. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. Peace.